and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Noah, your favorite financial analyst, and in today's video, I'm very excited to share the start of a series of videos here on my YouTube channel where I'm going to go over life at different income levels. This series is really going to be geared towards helping individuals understand what type of lifestyle they can really have at different income points. And as you know, the title of this video suggests today, we're going to start at $40,000, and I would eventually like to make my way up all the way to $200,000. I'm extremely excited for this series just because I feel like it's information that so many people, especially people that are just getting into the workforce or have been in for 3 to 5 years, can really benefit from, to see what income they really should be chasing throughout their working career. So I'm really excited to start the series, and I hope you take away something from it as well. With all that being said, let's get right into the video. Okay, so before I begin, I do want to share a little bit of information regarding the process that I want to use to illustrate the point that I'm really trying to get across to you, the viewer. So as I said, I'm going to share what your life potentially would look like with different salaries, right? At different salary levels. We're going to start, like I said, with $40,000, just because this is where a lot of people here in the United States really fall into on an individual basis. And like I said, I would like to work my way up all the way to $150,000, $200,000, which gets pretty interesting when you get to that point. But it's going to be a general process. I want to work my way there through $10,000 increments. So this episode is going to be $40,000. The next episode is going to be 50, 60, 70, 80, and so on. So in order to properly illustrate the point that I'm really trying to get across of what type of life you can have at different income levels, I want to share 3 disparate examples of different individuals at that income level. So for example, for this video, we're working with an individual making $40,000 pre-tax. And what I want to do with that $40,000 is I want to share 3 different scenarios of what their life might look like. The first scenario is, think of an individual who is hyper benefit and retirement focused, right? So a good way to put it would be their entertainment comes after they've taken care of their benefits, their retirement investing, and so on. The second scenario is going to be an individual who is more so on the spectrum of living life currently, right? So they've opted out of these benefits, right? They've opted out of their employer-based benefits. They've opted out of investing any kind of money for retirement, and they're trying to take home as much of their income as possible in order to live their life the way that they want. Now, the third and final scenario is an individual who's kind of right in the middle. They understand the importance of, getting benefits from their employer and, investing, for their future as well. But they don't go all in like the individual in scenario 1 does. They go about halfway, and then that way they still have a decent amount of money to take home and spend on whatever they please. So as you can see, we are in Excel. As always, anything that has to do with numbers or any kind of examples, I love using Excel for you guys just because of how easy it is to illustrate the points that I'm trying to get across. So as I said, we're going to go over 3 disparate scenarios with $40,000 as the base salary. So what you're looking at right here is the first scenario. And like I mentioned, the first scenario is an individual who is hyper-focused on their retirement, right? So they don't care about, the fancy car, the fancy gear, clothes, and, all of that shit. They care about making sure that they have benefits and they're, investing for their future, for their retirement. So I kind of want to walk about the dashboard kind of that I've created here just so you can follow along through each example. So we do have the salary here, which is $40,000, the check amount, which is going to be $1,538. And we're going to assume that this individual is single. They don't have any kind of withholding. They're paid biweekly. So they have 26 pay periods per year. So it's a pretty general standard that I think we're going to be working with here. And I also do have some deductions, right? These are pre-tax deductions, so you get to deduct money from your initial paycheck, and you're taxed on the leftover. So this is really important as well. We have 401k, health insurance, dental, vision, HSA, which is your health savings account. There are options, other options for FSA and so on, but I personally think HSAs are better. So I'm just going to use HSA for this example here. And then we have the taxes per that are taken out per their paycheck after their benefits. And then we want to list the take-home pay, which is their, the amount that actually goes into their bank account. And then I have that on a per check basis, per month basis, and then an annual basis as well. And on the right side of all of the financial information, their income information and benefits and so on, I have essential, non-essential, and saving and investing. And I like to set things up similar to this in my service as well, just because it really helps illustrate where an individual's money is going on an annual basis and so on. So for essentials, I have, rent and your mortgage, electricity, groceries, your gasoline, your medical, and so on. Non-essentials are your fund charges, right? Your discretionary, your entertainment, and so on. And then saving and investing. And the reason I have them up here is because what we're going to do is we're actually going to take the amount that we're given, right? The amount that we get to take home after our deductions, right? After our benefits, our health insurance and so on, our retirement, investing in our 401k. And then we're going to plug the numbers in here to see what kind of life that we can actually live with the leftover money, essentially. And this is going to be the same for all three scenarios. So as you can see with this example, we have a salary of $40,000, which yields a individual check amount of about $1,500. And I have values here for 401k, health insurance, dental, and vision. Now, the way that I determined how much, of this was going to essentially go in was for 401k to begin, the $884 per paycheck yields the maximum amount that this individual can contribute on an annual basis. So like I said, this individual is really hyper focused on investing, right? So they're going to try to max out their 401k on an annual basis. And it just so happens in, 2024, 884 is going to get you right around to that point. Now, as far as health insurance, dental insurance, vision, and vision goes, these values are going to differ company to company for the most part. How did I get these numbers? I actually took the payments per paycheck from my own company, or from the company that I work with. And I did do a little bit of research online, and they're relatively similar, but depending on how how good your company is looking to support their employees, these numbers are going to be different, right? So there's no perfect number here, but these are just my personal numbers that I've seen at the company that I work for. The value $160 for HSA account is going to be the maximum amount in 2024 that you can contribute just to get money into this account. I'm not going to explain everything in regards to what a HSA is and so on, but it's a very powerful not only healthcare, health expense tool, but it also can turn into a investment tool as well. So after all of those deductions, right, that is going to yield about $100 in taxes per paycheck for this individual, meaning their take-home income per paycheck is going to be less than $300. It's actually going to be $239, monthly it being about $478, and annually with 26 pay periods, they are going to take home $6,214. So now is the point where we take the annual take-home income, the $6,214, and we go over to the right here and start filling in different amounts for the monthly and annual cost to kind of put together what kind of life this individual might be able to live. However, I don't think I need to go into too much detail for you, the viewer, to understand that $6,214 really is not going to get you anywhere, right? If we start filling this out, right, we know that rent, even if rent is, 500 a month, right? We we're already annually at $6,000, so we don't have any money, right? So I'm not going to go into too many details, just because we know with, intuitively that $6,200 to live in an apartment on your own and feed yourself is just not cutting it. Um, so one thing that I do want to mention for this is that this individual, if you are, aiming to do this, they're likely at home, right? They're likely still living with their parents. Maybe they pay their parents just a little bit of kickback, for rent, and then they pay for some food and so on, because they really don't have much to work with, right? $6,200 annually is nothing, right? It doesn't even it barely pays for rent if it's $500 a month, which nowadays is pretty much unheard of, in the majority of the United States. So we can kind of intuit that if you are in this scenario and you're making $40,000 and you're hyper focused on investing, you're probably at home, right? Or you should be home, or you probably wouldn't be able to be anywhere else other than being at home, just because the amount of take home money that you have is not going to get you too far. Now, here we are with the second scenario. Now, the second scenario, like I said, is an individual who says, I don't give a shit about benefits or retirement. I want to take home, the money that I'm earning, and I'm going to spend it the way that I please. So that's what we've kind of put together right here. So I'm not going to go over everything I did in scenario one. You know how, we're making this individual has a salary of $40,000. These are their check amounts. As you can see, they're not contributing anything to any of their employer benefits or anything like that. Their taxes per check are going to be higher, just because they didn't opt in for any of these benefits. Their take home pay is obviously going to be higher at $1,200 per check. Annually, they are going to take home roughly $32,500, which you're probably thinking, the individual in the first example only took home $6,000. So why wouldn't I choose to live like this individual? And that's kind of what I'm going to get into right here. So I started putting in some values to put together what their life might look like on an annual basis. So let's say their rent was $1,000. That's $12,000 annually. Let's say their electric was $100, their utility was $50, $100 a week, or $400 a month on groceries. They've got a vehicle for $300, gasoline $100 a month. They don't have a kid. They didn't have any kind of medical issues, so they didn't have any medical expenses. Maybe they have a pet and they, $20 a month for food. And maybe their phone is $30 a month. And then moving over, and those are essential expenses, mind you. So now moving into non-essential expenses, maybe they have $100 a month on discretionary, right, clothes and fun toys or whatever. $200 a month on entertainment, which is pretty reasonable, right? If you're doing 4 weeks, $50 a week, whatever it is, that could easily be more than $200. $10 a month on beauty. I don't know, maybe they get their eyebrows done or their lashes, or I don't know. Fitness, $20, so their gym membership. Miscellaneous expenses, $50 for their apartment, whatever, and then dining out, $150 per month, which a lot of people, I think, would argue is relatively low as well. So now, assuming that those are their expenses, I have this extra section here, which is their total spending, which is all of their essentials and non-essentials, pretty much combined. And for this individual with this setup, have expenses of $30,360, which leaves $2,140 extra. And so this extra would be their saving, right? Going to their saving or investing, which, is not much. We know that the individual in the first example, scenario one, is putting $884 per check into their 401k retirement account. This individual is potentially putting $2,140 per year into their retirement account. And that's assuming that, nothing goes wrong. And that also means that they don't have, pretty much anything in savings. So for this example, for this individual in this scenario, yeah, they're not living at home like the first individual, right? Scenario one. But so they are on their own. But look at the instability, right? They don't have health insurance, right? They don't have any. They opted out of it. They don't have dental insurance. They don't have vision. They're not building a health savings account. And most importantly, almost they, pardon me, they don't have anything in their 401k. And this is a prime example of where I believe a lot of people are here in the United States, where they want to be out and about, but their income just doesn't quite support everything that they need to live on a good track, right? Live on a healthy, good track for a secure and safe lifestyle, not only now, but down the road as well. So in this example, can you live out of the house, with this income? Of course. But as you can see, things get pretty tight, a little bit too tight for my comfort zone, especially because nothing is being invested. They don't have benefits, which are two of my most important recommendations for any individual. Don't take on big, large debt, like living in an apartment and paying for all these different things until you have secure health insurance and you're able to put at least some money away. Now, this leads us to the third and final example. This is the individual, like I said, who is kind of in the middle between individual one, who was hyper focused on benefits and retirement, and individual two, scenario two, where they didn't give a shit about their retirement or benefits, and they were just out in the world living. So for this example, the individual, they're taking home the exact same money, but instead of $884 in their 401k, they're going to half it, right? So they're putting $440 into their retirement account. Their health insurance and dental and vision are going to be the same, right? You can't half see that necessarily, but they're still opting in for it because it's really important in this country, especially to be insured. I mean, it's extremely scary to not be insured. That's a video for another day, but that's just how I feel about it. HSA, they actually are contributing to this as well. They're not maximizing it for 2024, so but they're still putting money in. They're putting $80 per check into that account, which leads their taxes to be $153. So obviously a little bit higher, but kind of in the middle. Their take home per check is $709, which is about $1,500 monthly. And their annual take home income is $18,434, right? So this is, like I said, this is right nearly kind of in the middle. So this is a good place where we can play around with the numbers to see what kind of life they might be living. So let's assume maybe their rent is, $1,000, right? Mine, this is similar to mine. Their electric, I think we had 100 in the last one. Maybe we can do 80. Their utility, maybe $50 a month. Their groceries, 400 a month. Maybe they have a vehicle of 300. Gasoline, 100. And as you can see, right, I haven't even made it through all of the essential expenses. And you can see that my total expenses, total spending as of right now is more than my annual take home, right? So this is another example of, kind of a difficult situation, right? Where they're trying their best, they're trying to put some money away, but it just doesn't support a lifestyle. We could even cut this in half. Maybe their rent is $500 a month, and we're basically at the amount of money that we're going to take home. We haven't saved anything. We haven't invested anything outside of our 401k. We don't have any discretionary expenses on there. We don't have any student loans on there. We don't even have their cell phone bill on there yet. So in this example, in the third example, despite the fact that it is a happy medium between the individual who is hyper focused on benefits and retirement and the individual who doesn't care at all, it's still difficult to recommend this individual to be out on their own, right? Because as we can see clearly here, where is the money going to come from, right? They're at $40,000 with those benefits, with those contributions to your retirement account. You can't really have a life. You can't really have a life on your own. So The point, I guess, the conclusive point for this example, this $40,000 example, is that it's very difficult to be out on your own, right? It's very difficult for me to recommend that people, go out and live on their own, especially if they, don't have any kind of roommate or they're not splitting expenses, because simply put, the amount of money that's left over after you take care of your essentials, in my opinion, what I believe are essentials, your health insurance and contributing something to your retirement account, there's just not enough money left over to have a life, right? Especially if you're, single and you want to take on things on your own. So there you have it. Those are my opinions, and those are the examples that I was able to come up with to show you, the viewer, what life might be like with $40,000 as your annual salary. Unfortunately, for this example, we didn't get to play around too much with where money could be going and how much we could be spending on this and that, just because at the end of the day, there's really not that much money to play around with, especially if you're looking to ensure that your healthcare is intact, you have your benefits, and you're also contributing to your retirement account as well. I think the most important thing to take away from these different examples is that it's very clear that you need to be aware of what your salary means in the real world. And like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I think this series is going to be extremely powerful for people that are just kind of getting into the workforce here, because it really sets the pace and it paints a picture of what salary you might need to finally go out on your own and take on a mortgage or rent or whatever it may be. So that concludes the first episode of many of what you can have, or what lifestyle rather, that you can have at different income levels. And here was the $40,000 example. As always, if you have any questions for me personally, or if you'd like to take a look at the financial services that I can provide to you, I've left my email and a link to my company website in the description box below. As always, thank you so much for your time today, and happy financing.